Thank you to Chairman Nadler, Chairman Cohen, and Ranking Member Johnson, and the members of the committee for holding a hearing on this incredibly important issue. My name is Lila Nordstrom, and on September 11th, I was a 17-year-old student at Stuyvesant High School, which is a public school that is 3 blocks from the World Trade Center. On the morning of 9/11, I was in class with windows facing south, and my classmates and I watched as planes hit the Twin Towers. We watched dozens of people jumping to their deaths. We watched thousands of evacuees stream out of the area, and then the first tower fell, and a dust cloud rushed our building, and we couldn't see anything. I was one of the first people out of Stuyvesant when we finally got evacuation orders, and the moment I stepped outside, the second tower collapsed, and everybody took off in a run. I walked 10 miles that day. I couldn't reach my parents. I didn't end up even going home. I ended up walking all the way to Queens. After the attacks, we were sent to a school in Brooklyn temporarily, and the Stuyvesant building was used as a morgue and a command center for the cleanup effort at Ground Zero because of its proximity. Unfortunately, after EPA Administrator Christine Todd Whitman told the residents of downtown and New Yorkers that the air was safe to breathe, government officials made the decision to return us to our school building, and we went back on October 9th, which is less than a month after the attacks. Ground Zero was still on fire and would be for another 4 months. The smell of smoke was suffocating every day, and despite assurances from officials, very little got done to clean the school for students. No hazmat team got called in. The filters in our ventilation system were not replaced until January. The air vents, which were filled with World Trade Center dust, were not cleaned until the following summer. And the auditorium's contaminated upholstery was not actually replaced fully until 2014, which you can see on the image above. The school was also continually recontaminated by trucks that were carting toxic debris from the World Trade Center site past our school and dumping it into barges that were parked next to the air intake system. Testing of the air outside of our school showed that on many days it was actually as bad as the air at Ground Zero itself. And you can see where the barge was located. That picture is taken from the doors of our school. In total, more than 19,000 public school students returned to school downtown during the cleanup, as did thousands of teachers and school staff, and tens of thousands of students and professors from Borough of Manhattan Community College and Pace University and NYU. Downtown residents and office workers were actively encouraged to return, even those that had small children at home, and many of them got left to clean up dangerously contaminated spaces without much guidance. The federal dollars even got spent by the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation to encourage new residents to move into the area because, unsurprisingly, they began to face really high vacancy rates. Through all of this, the EPA knew that the air was not safe down there, but they did not tell us. NIOSH has now linked more than 68 cancers to the World Trade Center toxins, and I haven't even had my 20th high school reunion yet, but I already have 5 former classmates with lymphomas that I just know personally. My friend Michelle is in remission from thyroid cancer. Other classmates of mine have been diagnosed with rare bone cancers, testicular cancers, melanomas. There's even a male breast cancer survivor among us, as Dr. Moline was talking about earlier. Classmates are also starting to die now. Just a couple of months ago, Kathy Choi, who graduated just the year after me, passed away at age 33 of a 9/11 linked gastric cancer. Her VCF award has not been paid yet. When it is paid to her husband, it will be cut by 50 or 70%. And that's just my school. BMCC students are sick, as are students from Pace, and as are many younger children from the area. And beyond cancer, plenty of us are already suffering from chronic 9/11 related conditions, myself included. I'm personally certified with asthma, with GERD, with chronic rhinosinusitis, and with PTSD. So these serious illnesses that are emerging now are just the tip of the iceberg. If the VCF is allowed to close, a lot of my classmates will not find out they're sick in time to make a claim at all. And women have special reason to be concerned because most of the research that's been done on 9/11's health impacts has been done on the responder population, which is largely male. That means that a lot of women's health issues will not actually be linked to the attacks in time to ever be compensable through the VCF. The youngest 9/11 survivors now, we live all over the nation, and we have 70 or 80 years to live with these exposures in the case of the youngest exposed. Cancer does not respect arbitrary funding deadlines, and if the VCF is allowed to reduce payouts and expire, This resource that was meant to ease our suffering is going to become just another symbol of how we were sacrificed by a government that thought a quick return to normalcy after a tragic event was more important than the health and safety of the children who lived through it. In 2011 and 2015, the government did the right thing and enacted and then reauthorized the Zadroga Act, and Congress should do the right thing one more time and fully fund and extend the VCF. My friends who get sick in 2027 deserve the same help they would have received if they'd gotten sick in 2017, and so do I. Thank you.
Ms. Nordstrom, I think your testimony is particularly compelling. Can you describe more about what notices you were given, even as young students, or your parents were given, or your teachers were given, about the status of the health in your school?
Once we were already back at the school, we received a number of sort of cryptic warnings. We started to get notes home that said, don't drink out of the water fountain, and we were suddenly not allowed to leave the building for lunch, which was a privilege that we had enjoyed before that. And for some reason, it was supposed to be okay that we walked to and from the subway in that same air, but apparently eating lunch was not going to be safe. And as soon as we were back, a sort of contentious discussion broke out about whether we should be there or not. But we didn't really have any agency in that discussion. That was obviously a discussion that was happening between government officials, parents, and teachers at the school. And so we sort of witnessed a lot of information come out late in the game after the Parents Administration started to investigate things. That's, the Parents Administration is who discovered that the air quality at the barge was as bad as the air at Ground Zero in many days. It was the Parents Association that discovered that the carpeting and upholstery in our cafeteria, in our auditorium was contaminated. And it was the Parents Association that pushed the Board of Education to finally replace the filters in our ventilation system. That was something that was supposed to be done before we went back and did not get done. But all of that took months to unfold. So by the end of the year, it was pretty clear that we should have never been there, but we never really received that information at a point where we could have acted on it. Certainly, if the sort of government officials charged with our care had been honest about the situation, I think it would have been appropriate to remove us from the premises, but no decision like that ever got made. Instead, just these small steps where they were gonna hose down the debris, and then, they were gonna replace the carpeting in the theater, but not the seats, and small steps like that got made, but nothing substantial got made, and so we just kind of at the end of the year looked back and realized, oh God, we shouldn't have been here.